Now let's calculate the value of negative 2 to the fourth power. And just like with every other exponential expression, we need to first expand negative 2 to the fourth. And since our base is negative 2 and our exponent is 4, that means we're going to be multiplying 4 negative 2's together. So after we expand, it will look something like this. And now we're going to multiply 4 numbers together. So we're going to use the associative property, multiply 2 numbers at a time, and continue that process until we run out of numbers to multiply with. Alright, so let's begin. So let's group the first 2 negative 2's together. So we're going to multiply negative 2 times negative 2. Negative 2 times negative 2. And since we have a negative 2, we're going to take out a negative sign. And since we have another negative 2, we'll take out another negative sign. And then we're going to multiply 2 times 2 separately. And since we have 2 negatives here, that means we have the same sign. And that means our answer is going to be positive. And we know that 2 times 2 equals 4. So putting this all together, our final answer is positive 4. So that means we could replace these 2 negative 2's with its answer of positive 4. And we still have 2 negative 2's we haven't multiplied with yet. So we're going to bring them down. So we have positive 4 times negative 2 times negative 2. And now let's multiply the next 2 numbers together. So we have 4 times negative 2. And so we have here positive 4 times negative 2. There we go. And since we have a positive 4, we're going to take out a positive sign here. Let me move this over so we can see it better. And since we have a negative 2, we're going to take a negative sign out. And then we're going to multiply the 4 and 2 together separately. So we have 4 times 2. And since we have a positive and a negative sign, we have 2 different signs. And that means our answer is going to be negative. And we know that 4 times 2 equals 8. So putting this all together, our answer is going to be negative 8. So that means we can to replace this 4 and negative 2 with its answer of negative 8. So now we have negative 8. We still have this negative 2. So we have negative 8 times negative 2. And all we have to do is calculate negative 8 times 2. And we're done. So let's do that. So we have negative 8 times negative 2. And since we have a negative 8, we're going to take a negative sign out. And since we have a negative 2, we'll take out a negative sign out. And then we'll multiply 8 times 2 separately. So we have 8 times 2. Since we have 2 negatives, they're both the same sign. And that tells us our answer is going to be positive. And we know that 8 times 2 equals 16. So putting this all together, we have our answer is going to be positive 16. So that means this becomes 16. And we're done. So that means negative 2 to the fourth power equals positive 16. And we are done. Another way we can calculate the value of negative 2 to the 4 is we can regroup the product into pairs of negative 2's to multiply together. So we already know that negative 2 to the 4th means we're multiplying 4 negative 2's together. And instead of multiplying 2 numbers at a time and continuing that process, we could group these negative 2's into pairs. So we could group the first 2 negative 2's together and the last 2 negative 2's together. And what's great about this is we already know that negative 2 times negative 2 equals positive 4. So we could replace these pairs of negative 2's with the answer of 4. So we could replace this pair of negative 2's with 4, and this pair of negative 2's with 4. So now we have 4 times 4. And now we're multiplying two positive numbers together. And we know that 4 times 4 equals 16. So we can replace these 4's with its answer as 16. And we're done. We still got the answer as 16. And this is one of the great things of the associative property. It gives us options to group and multiply the numbers in different ways. And sometimes the way we group the numbers lead to easier ways to calculate the answer. So we want to be able to look out for other easier ways to calculate the answer. So negative 2 to the fourth power equals 16. And we are done.